Super Bowl begins with the Black National Anthem, and it's an utter disgrace. My dad wouldn't watch the halftime show because it was apparently satanic. Well, I haven't seen it at all. We are going through a modern satanic panic, though. I mean, did you see all of the crying and pissing and shitting and so on about that one dance number with the person and they were wearing red, or they were in like a red light, and they were concerned, and Elon Musk was like, really feels like the end times, doesn't it? Feed lately. Fairly Sam Smith, yeah, I don't know who that is. Fairly unironic, like satanic panic fear-mongering. Sam Smith is a pop star? Well, I figured that. I think he looks ridiculous, personally. Is Walsh worse than Shapiro? Yes, by far. Elon Musk was deemed satanic for his Halloween costume. Yeah, not to say there's any consistency in the satanic panic, fear-mongering bullshit, but it is kind of funny how Elon Musk's last Halloween costume was this. His costume is called the Devil's Champion Leather Armor Set. I mean, pick and choose, right?
Show the Super Bowl.
You are so loud. This is the whole live stream, though. Here, where's the UFO situation? Train derailed with toxic chemicals on board. Do you think he's going to mention the fact that Trump presided over the deregulation of the rail industry in a way that directly contributed to this incident happening? How fake is that backdrop? I'd say pretty fake. You mean the trees, right? The shelf behind him isn't fake. New Indiana Jones movie trailer dropped. Really? Wait, I haven't heard that. I'm learning about this from a Matt Walsh stream.
Much less important news. On a lighter note.
Wait, is the shelf fake? Oh, I guess it is.
Now let's talk about Walsh's complete will package. That's epicwill.com, promo code Walsh. Now let's talk about UFOs.
Yeah, I guess it is. Interesting. That's a pretty good green screen. They're just keying him out really well. Just a different angle? No, I don't know, whatever.
Again, it's one of those things people talk about for like...
He's still in the car. It's an elaborate, high-tech, Daily Wire green screen set. He's still in the car. He's still talking about the fertility of 16-year-old girls. All of this is just an elaborate artifice to get some content out of him. They're essentially deep faking the entire show. What new Indiana Jones trailer? Looks like shit. Okay, anyway, Super Bowl. Let's go.
Today. Well, it has finally happened. The alien invasion has begun.
Nope.
Thing to do right now. And if it's not the most reasonable, then it is at least the most fun.
Nope.
This is the hardest pill for me to swallow as an alien enthusiast.
Nope.
And many people expected that this would be enough. We imagined that all the people of the world would see the phrase "end racism" written in the end zone, and they would all say, wow, the NFL is right. We should end racism.
God willing.
And then racism would be ended, and global peace and harmony would commence. After all, racism only exists in the world because no one has ever suggested that it shouldn't exist. So we simply needed the NFL to go, hey, what if we cut out that racism stuff? And everyone would respond, oh, so we shouldn't be racist? Geez, okay, well, we hadn't thought of that.
So Matt Walsh is sneeringly disingenuous. He doesn't really make like real arguments unless he's talking about the breedability of teenage girls. So usually you have to kind of like respond to what he's disingenuously saying. So the real response to the disingenuous point here is that, yes, obviously fronting an anti-racist position is a component of getting large numbers of people to stop believing in it. But broadly speaking, however, I agree that stuff like, here, let me see if I can find an image. Super Bowl and racism. See, I didn't watch the Super Bowl. I'm about to learn about it from him. Yeah, here we go. See, it says "end racism" over there. And it also says the Chiefs right here. So it says "end racism" and "end racism Chiefs." Like, only go after the top dogs of racism, maybe. It's LARPy liberal virtue signaling. It's also totally harmless. The reason Matt Walsh doesn't like it isn't because he is bothered by the insincerity of the argument. It's because he likes racism. Always remember, if a conservative is crying about, like, I don't know, Disney going woke and saying, hey, we should be all equal regardless of our race, their issue isn't with it being ham-fisted or with it being in their faces or whatever. They don't mind ham-fisted politics. They mind those specific politics. You see all the complaining they did about the Proud Family reboot? Actually, I'll admit, some of those segments were a bit preachy, but it's a kid's show, I guess.
And that would be it. At least that's what we thought. But somehow this strategy has proven insufficient. And so it has added, the NFL has added another prong to their anti-racist battle plan. And yet again last night, the Super Bowl began with the performance of two national anthems. There's the regular national anthem, the one written by Francis Scott Key after he watched British ships lay siege to Fort McHenry in Baltimore during the War of 1812. And then the so-called black national anthem called Lift Every Voice and Sing. This was the third year in a row where the most watched sporting event of the year featured a special national anthem for one special racial group. It's the third time the broadcast has featured the song, yet it's the first time that the song was performed on the field, which is significant because that's, of course, how they also performed the real national anthem.
Wait, I need to listen to it. What does the black national anthem sound like? Is it going to be fire? Listen, okay, we're ruling. I'm now the judge, okay? I am perfectly qualified. I am a white boy who listens to EDM, video game music, and anime soundtracks. I don't know the difference between rap and hip-hop. All right, with that all out of the way, let's judge the black national anthem. All I see when I Google black national anthem is conservatives complaining about it. Is that not actually what it's called? The black national anthem? Because the only people who are calling it that seem to be conservatives. There's Anthony Brian Logan. I remember this guy being pretty dumb. Black conservative perspective. That is a white guy who looks like me. That's not actually who runs the channel, right? Okay, there we go. There's a black guy. All right. Whew.
She's upset because...
Oh, no. I was getting worried for a second. See, look, it's all con outrage shit. Lift Every Voice will probably get you there quicker. So only they're calling it the black national anthem. So it's not a special extra national anthem. It's just an extra song. It's a Christian hymn. Whoa! Are conservatives complaining about Christianity in our media?
To perform Lift
Voice I see, chill earth and heaven.
There's no synthesizer. I think it's trash. I now have the racial politics of a white man in the 1950s who spends most of his time on a golf range. All right, moving on.
Now, all of this is, of course, totally grotesque and outrageous.
Completely agree. There wasn't even a bass drop.
And the kind of gratuitous display that no country...
To be serious, it's a song. It's a song played. It's a song.
...outside of the Western world would ever be stupid enough to allow. And yes...
What? A song? A Christian hymn? What? Okay.
I use the word allow here intentionally. You'll notice that nowhere else do they permit individual racial groups to come up with their own national anthems that are then performed before major events.
Okay, sorry. Lift Every Voice and Sing lyrics. What's even being said here? Here, we're getting this one straight from the NAACP. Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise. High as the skies, let it resound as loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on to victory as one. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days where hope unborn had died, yet with steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place where our father sighed. We have come over a way that with our tears been watered. We've come treading a path, the blood of the slaughtered, of the grooming classes, weekly the reverse stars cast God, thy might, God. This is Christian shit. Matt, are you doing a Satanism?
That's the sort of thing that can only happen here.
Matt?
And I don't mean that as a compliment. Now, there are, as always, some people looking to defend the indefensible and minimize even the most outrageous excesses.
You might notice he hasn't actually made an argument. Matt Walsh actually never makes an argument, which means he's the pure form of a fascist. He literally never does it. Like, seriously, you can watch his streams all day long. He will never actually make an argument. He will simply say the thing he believes and then use, you know, every adjective in the book to sort of lay out how he feels you should think on the issue he's describing. He won't tell you why. He'll just say how you should feel.
Of leftism, there are even conservatives who enjoy participating in this pastime. There are many conservatives who love doing this. And from those people who you know, we've heard that, well, the Lift Every Voice and Sing, it's a nice gospel song. It's not actually a national anthem, so there's no reason for us to object to it. They didn't call it the Black National Anthem during the broadcast, after all. They didn't specifically say that during the broadcast.
Apparently, the only people who are promoting it as the Black National Anthem are the NAACP. And it should note, by the way, I think the NAACP has made some boneheaded decisions. So I'm not by any means obliged to, you know, everyone just sort of mentally picture Rachel Dolezal's OnlyFans in your head, if you will. You know, and not at all obliged to agree with everything they've ever done or said. Apparently, they started promoting it as a Black National Anthem back in the early 20th century, about a century ago. You know, back during Jim Crow era. I feel like suggesting now that it's a Black National Anthem is a little bit silly, but it's mostly conservatives doing it.
For example, a guy named Ross Schumann, who identifies himself as a conservative, made this case to me last night. He tweeted, quote, "At no point in time was Lift Every Voice and Sing called a national anthem on the broadcast. Why do you take the left's bait?" Well, except that the NAACP has billed the song as the Black National Anthem since 1917.
I said that, but so they've billed it like that, okay? The white supremacists back in 1917 would probably have argued that the American national anthem was a white man's anthem. Of what relevance is this?
Not to mention, the woman who performed the song at the game, Cheryl Lee Ralph, said that she was performing the Black National Anthem. That's what she said. She posted, quote, "It is no coincidence that I'll be singing the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, at the Super Bowl on the same date it was first publicly performed 123 years ago. Happy Black History Month." So
Damn. Yeah, good for her. And her big, silly dress.
everyone, including the performer herself, knows what the song is and why it's being performed. There's a reason they had her sing it on the field, with the audience in the stadium standing in solemn reverence, just as they do for the real national anthem.
Wait, whoa. Hold on. It's considered etiquette to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. People often stand for the national anthem. Is it now considered etiquette to stand during this other song that a lot of people, especially people with my melanin tone, would never have heard of? I don't. Is that true? Do I have to go look at like Super Bowl footage to see? I'm pretty sure you can sit down for it.
There's a reason why every media report has hailed the inspirational rendition of the, quote, Black National Anthem, and they've all called it that.
Eagles fans are so fat they can't stand up. Whoa! True. I don't know anything about the Eagles or their fans, except for EDP 445 apparently is an Eagles fan. So,
specifically, the media, the NFL, the left, they're not celebrating the performance of a gospel hymn. Okay, their intention is not to glorify God. That's not what they're excited about. That may be
the majority of Americans are Christian, unfortunately. So when somebody's singing a gospel hymn and it mentions God, I think actually yes to most Americans that would have some kind of like some kind of Christian meaning to it. Probably. I wouldn't know, but I assume that is the case.
The focus of the lyrics in the song, but that's not why it's included in the broadcast. And that's not the intention behind its performance.
I mean, I imagine that the reason it's being performed here is probably because football as a sport just is, let's be real, black people are holding this shit up like Atlas has the world, okay? The subject of like racial politics when it comes to sports is pretty complicated, and I don't want to get into it that much, but I think a common criticism from Soviet Russia back during the Cold War was that so many great American pastimes are wealthy white men watching like poor black men, you know, like duke it out for the privilege of getting to escape poverty, you know, whether it be boxing or football or basketball or whatever. Obviously, they're not all poor, of course. You know, professional football players are very wealthy, but there's definitely like a class and racial dynamic. All they ever do is bring up the hypocrisy argument. It's so boring. Conservatives, yeah, because again, it saves you from having to make an argument yourself. It frees you of the obligation. It's very common with conservatives for that reason. Wasn't basketball really a white sport for a long time? Well, all sports in America were white sports for a long time. A lot of their respective professional leagues only let black people in the 50s and 60s and stuff. You know? Yeah, except for hockey, where black people are still not allowed to play. And curling.
The intention is to do the only thing a racialized national anthem can do, which is to divide Americans along racial lines, elevate some races above others. You know, some races are special and they get 2 national anthems, while the rest of us have to settle for just 1.
The song is literally called, like, We're All Together or something. The song is literally about equality. It doesn't even mention black people. Nowhere in the song are there any lyrics that are supremacist. The problem, yeah, lift every voice. The problem here is that this is like deliberate rhetorical dishonesty, which again, it's Matt Walsh. What do you expect? Because when the NAACP and when people broadly call it the Black National Anthem, even though I don't like the term, what they're saying there is like, this is a song that has great meaning to black Americans because it speaks to a specific experience. How much can black Americans really relate to the American national anthem, considering the fact that they would have been slaves at the time it was written? The time period that is being described, the experience being described in the American national anthem, is one during which the vast majority of black people in the United States were slaves. So, hey, so here's a song that's more about overcoming adversity, and it's like, here's the Black National Anthem. But what Matt Walsh is doing here, Matt Walsh is playing on the implied institutional weight of a national anthem, suggesting that because it's called a national anthem by some people, this means that black people are somehow distinct and legally superior to us, at least in some kind of culturally affirmative way, you know, like he's essentially saying like, yes, but they get their own special distinct national anthem because they're socially privileged above us, like the Hunger Games or something. I don't know. The implication he's playing on here is like the idea of there being some kind of cultural weight to a national anthem outside, in this case, just being a sort of theme song. He's being dishonest is what he's doing. That is true.
While diminishing our most cherished national traditions.
What? How does that diminish? Okay, we're going to explain that or justify it or make an argument? First of all, our national traditions, but second of all, what? Okay.
Because the message of the Black National Anthem is that the actual national anthem isn't enough. It isn't good enough. It isn't inclusive enough.
That's true. In fact, a good Super Bowl would simply have the national anthem and then not even play football after. Because if you play football after, what you're implying is that you came there for anything more than just the national anthem. You should show up to the Super Bowl stadium. Everyone should rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, hear the anthem, and then everyone should leave and go home.
Like, nobody disagrees that black people should have a national anthem. No one is saying that. Oh, there's no one is looking at black people and saying you don't get a national anthem. This isn't for you. No.
Let me see where he's going with this.
The point is that the national anthem is everyone's national anthem. So if you're a black person, that's your national anthem. If you're a white person, that's your national anthem. If you're a Native American, that's your national anthem. It's everyone's national anthem.
So we've talked about this before. Yeah, this is the all lives matter kind of thing. We've talked about this before. This is the conservative appealing to an imagined meritocracy as a way of making it seem as though any deviation from the status quo is actually like a reverse racism overcorrection, basically. The weird thing is that like conservatives are constantly saying that elements of our culture, of our government, of our institutions have failed us, and we need to create an alternative that's less woke. Like, we hear this all the time. Conservatives are constantly signaling for the need to break away from like corrupted American institutions and form their own alternatives, you know? They do this all the time, constantly, because fear-mongering that mainstream media, that the government, that everything are all captured by liberal progressives, by degenerates. That's like the mainstay of their arguments. They need to make that point. But then, like, when somebody else is like, okay, yeah, but also we want to have a song that sort of means something to us, they're like, what? So you're saying the mainstream normative status quo isn't enough for you? You f***ing piece of shit. You f***ing scumbag. And they completely pivot on their heel on these arguments every time.
But the other message, the other idea behind this, which is just as false and just as insidious, is that the situation, this is what they're trying to claim, this is why they're doing it, that the situation hasn't improved.
Is this like doublespeak? Yes. Two toes? Yes. That is correct. This would be an actual example of doublespeak, the concept in 1984. That is true. It is very straightforwardly a set of arguments that complement each other, but only if you simultaneously hold two mutually exclusive positions. And a lot of conservatives believe them both. Matt Walsh knows that he's lying, but a lot of average day-by-day conservatives don't. I also want to point out, by the way, that conservatives have never had an issue before with any alteration to our great American tradition when it comes to the national anthem before a sports game, as long as the alterations serve their political biases. So they have never minded, like, here's a veteran from the Iraq War coming out to talk about this, or, you know, here's an extra song, or this or that. I've been to enough baseball games to know that the great American tradition of just doing the anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance is constantly subverted in favor of whatever the stadium runners wanted to do that day. This happens all the time. We're only pretending that that this is an issue here for fairly obvious reasons.
Proved much for black people since the song was declared the black national anthem over 100 years ago.
Hold on.
This is what they're trying to claim. This is why they're doing it. That the situation hasn't improved much for black people since the song was declared the black national anthem over 100 years ago. It was a rallying cry during the civil rights battle. Well, bringing it back now, not just bringing it back, but elevating it to a status equal to or even surpassing the real national anthem is meant.
Equal to or surpassing? They've done multiple songs adjacent to the national anthem plenty of times. This is not
meant to send the message that black people still do not have their rights, that the civil rights battle of 100 years ago is still ongoing.
Yes, that is true. He's correct here. That is the point of the song. It's an indication of solidarity with a given struggle. Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm.
Which is all total nonsense.
Of course.
And we see yet again that those
argument,
supposedly fighting against racism are in fact determined to create racial divides.
See, remember what I said? A false appeal to a meritocracy so that anyone who defies the status quo can be accused of overcorrecting and being an actual, like, reverse racist or whatever. Remember?
Deepen them where they already existed, open new wounds and reopen old ones, and keep the resentments of the past forever at the forefront of our minds.
Except you might notice the only people complaining about this are the conservatives. So, if anything, it seems like they're looking for any possible excuse to exacerbate, to worsen, to profit from these racial divides. You know, most Americans would have just heard the song and thought, "Oh, that's a nice song," or maybe a lot of them thought, "Get to the fucking game. I don't care. Give me my game." Whatever, you know, it's America. Believe what you want to believe. But it's conservative media exclusively that's hyperfixating on this, which suggests to me, I mean, if they really don't want to, you know, exacerbate racial tensions in this country, you feel like they wouldn't use such invectives. They wouldn't make claims like it's ridiculous that there's any kind of civil rights struggle to be fought today. But obviously.
The whole point of performing the national anthem, the real national anthem, is to, first of all, show our respect and gratitude for this country and for the traditions in our country.
Don't care.
And for the people who have, you know, made all this possible for us. It's also to show our unity and to celebrate our national identity.
How often, by the way, have you guys heard Matt Walsh talk about the need for national unity and talk about how the American Pledge of Allegiance the national anthem is meant to be like an appeal to Native Americans' home and also to the home of African Americans and the home of everyone? It's almost as though the only time he's interested in putting forward like a facade of liberal togetherness is when he's using it to stamp out on the idea that any actual work could still be done. Doublespeak.
Under one flag and one God. That's the point. But the powers that be don't share that goal.
The powers that be. That's an interesting choice of words. Not like the NFL showrunners. You know, there's a specific organization that runs the Super Bowl. It's not like the Illuminati. There's a specific group of people. You could probably just like Google who was in charge of scheduling and staffing for any given event. Like, it's not, this isn't like a hidden process. You can just look it up. But no, it's the powers that be.
Their goal is exactly the opposite. And that's what the Black National Anthem is really all about. Now let's get to our headlines.
Yeah, I suppose that about tracks. Who could those powers be? Interesting. He's implying other folks are in charge, same dog whistle, different day. Yeah, it's just, remember, like, conservatives only care about tradition if it's tradition that benefits them. They talk about valuing tradition, but keep in mind, if there was like a long-standing NFL tradition of a Black Power solidarity, you know, that had been going back for like 80 years now, they wouldn't like that. They would say that's woke nonsense. They only care about traditions disproportionately because traditions are from the past, and the past was more reactionary. And as a product, they can appeal to the values of the past in tradition form as a way of stamping out modern progressivism. They don't care about changes being made to the NFL or Super Bowl formula. If the Super Bowl, for instance, had like the American national anthem, and then because the NFL was controlled by like a bunch of hogs, after that they did like a MAGA rap or whatever, or they had Donald Trump go out there for an impromptu rally, or just any like insane bullshit like that, Matt Walsh should have no issue with it. Like, none at all. It's obviously not about the virtue of tradition, not on its own. Yeah, if Tom McDonald had gone out there, the immigration tradition seems to not be brought up by them. Curious. You know, America basically had like no immigration law when it was founded. I mean, eventually we got the Chinese Exclusion Act, but for a long, long time, if you weren't Chinese, like, entering America was basically you showed up there. That was it. Functionally, America had open borders in its creation, and then Chinese exclusion open borders for a while after that. The idea of maintaining a modern border is a modern thing. Do you think feudal kingdoms had borders? You know, a lot of people don't realize this because they play a lot of Hearts of Iron. But you know, you'll look at a map of like medieval Europe, and it'll be like, yes, this was the Holy Roman Empire, and then this was the Duchelberg of and then this was the 8th Bish Clark of Schindel or something, and they were like, ah, yes, I bet they had border checkpoints here. When obviously what was actually happening was you had a bunch of castles with lords in them scattered across Europe, and then around all of those, like, castles and lordships and everything, you had a bunch of, like, villages, like, everywhere. And basically, all the lords were just competing for which villages they could, like, take shit from. And that was literally it. Like, maybe the borders were kind of like this, because this was kind of where they could tax their villages, you know? But then it's like, oh, well, you know, maybe, like, one of these lords got a lot weaker because they lost a battle, or they gave a portion of their troops over to the king for some grand war, so they were weaker. So it's like, ah, before it was like this, but now we're just going to, like, get right up against your territory like that. We're going to tax a bunch of people. And all the villagers over here are like, well, are you part of the Holy Roman Empire or the Duchy of Fiscus? And they're like, I don't know, man. Every once in a while, people with slightly different accents arrive at the village to take a bunch of grain. I don't know. Like, you know, twice a year, guys with horses and carts come back. In this environment, do you think, like, immigration law was a thing? This is what the Holy Roman Empire looked at with its various lordship regimes? Yeah, but even then, like, even with all of the little splits and everything, these borders weren't clear at all. People would fight all the time over, like, the tiny, like, oh, I want this village. Why? And sometimes villages would just get taxed by 2 lords. Lord A would show up at a village and be like, give me your shit. And then, like, a month later, Lord B would show up and be like, give me your shit. The villagers are like, we literally have no shit. We are shitless right now. And then the Lord B would just, like, I don't know, their wives or something, because we're talking about European nobility.